Mini Jake, the tribe has spoken.
Fuck you, Kevin.
Aw, fuck you too, sweetie.
I'm JJ, one of the original Tribe of Nerds members. You can catch me on Marvel, Pokemon, and other gaming podcasts.
What up? It's Josh, resident superhero nerd, but I also dabble in the occasional super villain as well.
Some may know me as the Chaos Gremlin, but really I'm just Joe King.
Pikachu, use Volt Tackle! Good job, Pikachu!
On the Tribe of Nerds. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Tribe of Nerds. We are back for Survivor 1 through 50. We're talking about Survivor Panama, Exile Island, the season that gave us Cirie Fields and Terry Dietz and a bunch of these really fun characters and players. So with me, we got Coach Drew, we got Mike G, and we got Jonathan. So yeah, this is going to be exciting to talk about the couch potato, as Sari is going to be referred to.
So, I mean, she's just great. She's just great.
Yeah, I can't wait to discuss her in detail here for the first time. So, but let's get into it. So, why did you guys want to discuss Panama Exile Island?
I love Casaya. Casaya's top 5 greatest tribes ever, even though, you know, they almost choke it away at the end of it. I think that this season is saved because Casaya exists, because Lamina is not good at all. And yeah, we get some of the bigger characters that we're ever going to get, specifically in Cirie and Shane, but you know, Terry's there too, and Aras, and the coach, the captain of sports, Danielle DiLorenzo. So
yeah, and then Aras is there too.
And then Aras is there too, yeah.
Mike.
Yeah, I mean, Cirie Fields, like, first and foremost, always fun watching her play in whatever game she's in. But this was my first, you know, I got to watch it live while it was airing. And so really just like having that moment of like, wow, like I'm watching history kind of unfold, and you don't really realize it until, you know, then fans versus favorites and all of that. And you're like, wow, I watched her from the very beginning. And I was her. Like, I'm kind of this frumpy, like, you know, watched a lot of TV, and like I'm semi-athletic, but not really. So watching somebody go on TV and just like, hey, I know nothing about any of this, and I'm just gonna play the game, and she plays it flawlessly, and she plays it flawlessly every time. So her first and foremost. But I also love the breakdowns of the tribes, having these kinds of older, younger tribes, kind of seeing how those dynamics kind of right in that second episode when they mix back together. So definitely a fun season to watch.
Absolutely. Jonathan?
Yeah, this is a great season. Like when I was going through my chronological, you know, watch through, when I got to this one, I was like, man, Guatemala I thought was really good. And this one just kind of topped that. So it kept, all these seasons kept topping themselves over time. And I had like really good fond memories of this. I loved Terry. I loved Cirie. I loved Aras. I loved Shane. There was a lot of big bombastic like moments in this season that happened. And just, I think I definitely remember it fondly for Terry, because when I got to this season and I had another friend who had seen the whole series, and he asked, what season are you on now? Right. I'm like, I'm on 12. I'm on Panama. He's like, oh, that's a good one. He's like, one of my favorites of all time is on that season. I'm like, well, who could it be? And then I see this Terry guy go out there and just like win challenge after challenge with an idol. And I was like, if I could be any type of Survivor player, I would want to be like Terry, where you're just so dominant in challenges, but you still have like an idol and you can't get rid of this guy for so long. It was just a great season. And I also fondly remember Shane giving like one of the most amazing final tribal speeches to Aras and Danielle at that time when I saw that, I was like, I had to pause my Paramount Plus because I was like, that was like the sickest ending that you could cap off with the tribal council that I'd seen at that time. So very fond memories with Panama all around, and Exile Island too. First time that happened. I think it's
after Palau, but first time it's official.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best themes they've ever used in this show, and I wish they kind of like brought it back a little bit. But fond memories all around with Panama.
Yeah, I really enjoy this season. It's like Casaya absolutely makes it, as you guys have said. Like they're just so chaotic, and they fight with each other, and it's entertaining every single time. Shane Powers is still one of the best characters in Survivor history. I don't even care. Like, there's so many fun lines that we'll get to as we go here. As you said, Jonathan Terry is just fun to watch win. We'll talk about whether he's actually like a great player, because I do think he has a lot of flaws in his game that ultimately do end up costing him. But again, I love talking to Terry. I love that we got to. So that was an awesome interview. So if anybody wants to go check that out, it's on the channel. But and then, obviously, Cirie. I mean, what's more to say about Cirie? I can't wait to talk about her first game in detail and the first time she gets robbed by twists. And just like, I mean, she never goes out normally. So, and then, I mean, Captain of Sports, Danielle, I mean, she's there and Aras is there. So, I mean, I don't know. There's a couple other characters. I mean, we'll talk about a few of them, a couple pre-mergers, Courtney. I mean, so there's some interesting people to talk about.
Tricky subjects for the first time.
Yes. Yep. All right. Well, let's get into it. So to start this off, so we get 4 tribes for the first time ever. We get the older men, older women, and younger women. So it's pretty fascinating to like give them 4 tribes to begin this game. And so, I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on this cast and how the tribes were divided initially?
Well, I'd be on the old man and old woman tribe, and I'm only 34. So, and I think the last they were looking. This is the part of the show where they're trying to grasp that, like, okay, let's see if we can get in tune to what's going on in the world. And they keep messing up on that, as we'll see the next couple of seasons. And I'm glad they kind of just ended the twist after episode 1 or 2,
like literally the first one, and then it's like now it's like,
all right, we're done. We're done here.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike.
Yeah, I think like the potential of it was really intriguing, especially when you're watching it for the first time, back in 2000X, whatever it was. And you're thinking like, wow, what a cool twist. Like, what a great idea. Because it really was about, a lot of the conversation was about, the older characters, the older players were kind of getting targeted in the earlier seasons. And they really didn't get very far unless they were super connected with the young players. And so really seeing kind of this, well, you don't really have any young players to connect with. Well, you don't have any old people to vote out. So what do? Unfortunately, of course, original Casaya is the first one to go. But that situation of like, which of the young players would have been the first out? Which one could it have been? And then, of course, merging or swapping, whatever that you want to call that, the blending in episode 2. I think that was actually pretty planned out. I think that really just seeing kind of what happens in that first tribal and then like mix it up and see kind of what happens. They're only at 16 players, so you really can't do much with only 3 people on a tribe. So,
yeah, I mean, it can be argued that I mean, if they stayed and like the older women are down 3 players and they just got rid of one of their stronger players, like how you would look at it. Like, I don't think that they were gonna be able to win too much, but I mean, Cirie would have made it out okay, but at that point, but the other 2, I don't think so. Jonathan.
Yeah, so I thought it was a pretty good cast all in all. I mean, we talked about, so they only had 16 contestants. They did 4 tribes, and it seems like if you're going to do 4 tribes, it would be better if you had like, I don't know, like maybe 24 people to that, like hint, hint, nudge, nudge with like Survivor 50 or something like that. But when you only have like not that many people, it definitely seemed like it was intended for it to not just be like a 1 episode thing, get to episode 2, see how they're going to blend. And Mike, to your point about how like seeing how who would like interact with who and like old people getting older crowd being targeted, it's kind of interesting if the producer's looking through that lens and you have someone like Shane who's on the old guy tribe. He's like, I don't fit in with the old crowd. I fit in with the young crowd.
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of like more of his speed, more of his vibe. And you have someone like Cirie who she says in the beginning, she's like, I'm the couch potato. I'm like not the, she's like, I'm afraid of a leaf or whatever. But she like seems like she's such a natural in the like, surviving in the wild, and her being able to like actually socially turn that on immediately. And it's like you see like certain characters of people come alive in different environments over time. So I thought it was a really good cast. But I'm definitely glad that that 4-tribe thing didn't last the whole time and it only went for like one episode. And then we get the ultimate reign of Casaya for like the rest of the season.
Yeah. Thankfully, we got the ultimate Casaya tribe off of the second swap, or like this season could have very quickly gone downhill. But I really like this twist for one episode, as you guys have said. I think it works for one episode. I don't think it works for any more than that. I mean, we're gonna see it again in Cook Islands. It lasts 2 episodes, but
it doesn't outstay its welcome.
Right. Yeah, and then you get to see the dynamics of them all blended together, as you guys have said. So, but
and it also set up the first person to get sent to Exile Island too.
Yes.
It was more. I think that's probably what it was more meant to do than to like actually see like how people would react over time. But just them introducing that whole new element in the show, I was like, ooh, like I've heard about this in lore.
And the search for the idol.
And
the actual search for the idol.
Yeah.
So that's really fun too. This whole idea of like, you're going to go to this island, but it's not a disadvantage necessarily because there's an advantage hidden there somewhere.
Yeah. And the idol is like, and for a fact, the idol is on that island. It's not like how it is now where it could be anywhere in camp. It's like, no, it's over there. Like, you know, so do you want to get sent or do you not want to get sent? Kind of
exactly.
thing.
And besides Tocantins, this is the best looking Exile Island.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the skull, like it's so over the top and corny that it's like you love looking at it. You love the pan outs and pan ins of it on the skull. It's like, this is awesome.
Like
and I want to spend more time here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, the skull and like the fact that it's a little bit of shelter, but not too much because rain is still going to pour in. So like they're not going to be completely dry in there.
Yeah.
So, let's get into where the tribes are going to be. But first, we do have this reward challenge where they have to smash the skulls. And I mean, you basically think that the older women might have to send someone to exile first because it seems like they might be the ones to lose. That Ruth Marie is going to lose it for them. But Danielle, the captain of sports, is the first one to lose this and the last one to come back. And so the younger women have to sit someone here, and Misty ends up losing rock, paper, scissors. So
she's 0 for 1, but she'll get him back. She's an athlete. She knows how to recover, Danielle. So she'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
she's a quick study. She's a quick learn. And plus with the rock, paper, scissors. Oh.
No, you're okay.
Oh, sorry, Mike. With the rock, paper, scissors thing, it's like when you have a whole new element introduced into the game, that being Exile Island, it's like who wants to go? And no one's like, I don't want like I don't think anybody had that much confidence in me. Like, yeah, sure, I totally want to go do this brand new thing that's never been done in Survivor before. So I feel like back then doing rock, paper, scissors to make a decision on like who's going to do it on your first like 10 minutes of meeting everyone probably makes sense. I mean, like, could work for anybody, but we'll see because Misty's not the one that actually benefits from the journey to Exile Island, as we will soon talk about.
No, I think it definitely hurts her too. So, but Mike, you wanted to say something?
I just found it very interesting that in the very first episode, we kind of see the flaws of our final 4 right from the start. Aras is kind of like the kind of hippie, kind of
golden boy,
not weirdo, but like, he doesn't necessarily fit super in with the young guys. Shane very quickly is like, I'm not even like connected to them. Like I want nothing to do with them. I thought it was funny that Cirie was kind of like I've never camped before. This is not my thing. And then of course Danielle fails at the challenge. So you see this kind of like immediate, like these are the ones that are probably going to go first, and they're the ones that get to the end. So I just found that really interesting and intriguing.
Yeah, it is really fascinating, and then Terry's over making an alliance with Dan Fuego that is.
I will never break this. It's like we're charged. We get along so well.
It's so
the pilot.
It's like, oh man, they're so bonded. They're gonna be the final two. Nope.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness. I mean, I probably would have voted for Dan Fuego, but it's fine. Whatever. I'm over it.
All right, so the dynamics on the tribes. I also did want to talk about Misty a little bit more because she was like the prototype for Parvati. Like she was this attractive woman. So
I wrote that down too.
Yeah, like she was the Parvati a season before her, and like she was flirting with the guys. She was like, I don't know, she was like underestimated because like Parvati was like a charity boxer, and like Misty's was a missile engineer, which is pretty crazy. Like, so I don't know. I found Misty, she could have been interesting, but I do think Exile Island definitely hurts her in the game completely. So
yeah, I mean, that's fine. Like, I agree. Really, I don't think I would do that. I agree.
Yeah. Well, let's get to the dynamics of the tribes. So Cirie, obviously, we have her being afraid of leaves, as we mentioned, and you have Timbertina taking charge. Obviously, Timbertina was supposed to be on Survivor Guatemala, but her son unfortunately passed away in a car accident, as we find out in the first episode. And so I think Tina, I honestly think if she had been on Guatemala, she probably isn't the first boot there. So I do think like it's unfortunate. And it's also unfortunate she's playing with Cirie. So
yeah.
I mean, she gets an entire storyline and over the course of one episode, and you know, I think that's why she doesn't have time to play the game, but I think that people still hold her in high regard as far as the fandom. Like people still remember Timbertina as the first boot from Panama, and I think it's because we get her entire story, and there's nothing. Like we're not sitting there wondering, oh, what if? Like we are, but it's like, no, we got this, and that's, it sucks that that's the story that we got, but I think it's very well told. I think that, you know, when it ends, it's like, okay, so Cirie's staying. Okay, what is this? What kind of voodoo witch powers does she have over these people that they voted out her over Cirie? So I think it's a very interesting first boot, but her name has lasted through the years. We still care about her. So
yeah, absolutely. Any other thoughts here on the older women Casaya tribe?
Not that I can think of. I mean, it was very much the whole point of that seemed to be within that first episode was to get some level of closure with Tina's story, because I was supposed to be on Guatemala, but that didn't happen because of the passing of her son. And then, but you're also getting this like surgence with the Cirie character, and you don't know like where she's going to go in her story. And it almost becomes solidified after episode 2, which we'll get to, because it's just crazy. You have 2 separate stories going on, but it definitely seemed like this story was wrapped and there's some level of closure to it. Whereas this story is just now beginning in a long, illustrious Survivor career of playing in the form of Cirie.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to track here.
Have you done a what if? Like this would be a great season.
Jake, I said
like
after
Tina doesn't get voted out, it's Cirie, and what happens? Like, does Tina become the face of Survivor?
That is interesting. I think Shane and I can definitely do this one because this is a good one.
Or like you could tie that into the second episode too, when they do Casaya and they're debating whether to vote out Cirie, or Melinda, and they're like, "What's going to be one of these two?" Right. That would be a really good one because Cirie could have gone home at that moment, but then they're like, "No, we'll just keep Cirie," and that's either that one or with Mike's is like would be a great what if. Cirie, come on, we love you.
Shane, Cirie, come on for an interview. Once you're back from
she's gone.
Yeah, I give her internet access on Ponderosa.
But yeah, and then younger men and younger women, they're both facing their own problems. Women have indecision. Courtney's being Courtney. And like, drawing a heart around a sea turtle. And then the younger men can't build a shelter to save their lives. Aras is being really
Shock.
hippie, interesting. So, I mean, that stuff is going on. And then we get to Mina, the older men. So you have Terry and Dan pairing up. And then you have Shane, who's completely out of his element as well. He just got cut off of cigarettes, which he's smoked like 10 packs for, 20 years?
Oh, yeah.
It was just insane that he didn't actually kill somebody while he was out there, because that is, I mean, I've never smoked a cigarette in my life, but I know that it's very addicting. And I know that if you do 10 packs a day for that long, you would kill someone for the nicotine, like around their lips if you could.
That was insane though. Yeah. Like, just seeing him like go through that, like, I was like, and stick around as long as he did. Like, that's actually like what made people like him, was the fact that he was going through nicotine withdrawal on Panama, and he's just like, you're screaming at everybody, and it's like,
oh my god, it's so good. Yeah, I think he almost did kill somebody in the Panamanian village later for cigarettes.
Probably, yeah.
But he got it though. He got a cigarette.
Yeah,
he did.
I mean, just like so much fun, even just initially, of like Shane is so out of his element. At one point, like Terry or Dan comes up to him, is like, hey, like they're walking away, and like Bruce starts coming up, and Shane's like, what does Daffy Duck want? It's like, why are we calling Bruce Daffy Duck? Like, just makes no sense.
And that's we get the makings of the big character of the season. Cirie's the big player, Terry's the challenge person. Everyone's kind of falling into their roles right now. And we get Shane, Shane is a villain, but we get the birth of Shane the villain, Shane the character, and these little moments here, so that when we inevitably end up on our two tribes, it's like, okay, that's the guy that I'm rooting against, but also I don't need him to go home anytime soon. Because he's great TV right now.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And he wanted to quit too in the beginning. Like, he was like, I don't want to be here. And then obviously like Aras is able to kind of like talk him down to get him into once he gets on Casaya. So it's kind of interesting, like, like there were a lot of things that I thought were going to go one way in the beginning that ended up going the complete opposite. Like, that's why this season is like really, really good.
For sure. Let's get to our first immunity challenge. So this one, they have to go paddling, swimming, get to the beach with like a diagram of how to untie this like ring, and then toss it as like a grappling hook to release a flag. And the younger men are having a lot of trouble, surprisingly. Like, they almost lose this challenge and only win because the older women can't figure out their diagram. So this is insane. And Mike, you mentioned earlier of like the younger men, what if they had lost this?
Literally.
I mean, we probably don't have the winner. Like, I feel like Aras probably goes.
I think Aras goes.
Yeah.
Because I think the other two, Nick and Austin, I think get pretty close pretty quick. And then Bobby's like a beast, so they're not going to vote him out. So I think Aras is potentially our target.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. I really do. I would have been shocked if they had gotten rid of Bobby first. So I definitely think it would have been Aras.
Agreed.
So anything else on this first immunity challenge?
No.
Well, glad that it got us to the next episode, to where we basically got the whole new tribes, and it literally becomes like a whole new season after episode 2. Like, this was like the feeling out stage of the season, and then once we get through it, then it's like, we're just gonna forget the whole 4 tribes thing, and then we're gonna move forward with the actual meat and potatoes of Survivor Panama.
It's a prologue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it definitely seemed like it was the whole first episode was more of like a closure episode for Tina, and like a rising rebirth like episode for Cirie, like what she's going to become. That kind of seemed like what the more focal point of the first episode was. Plus you're introducing like Exile Island and stuff like that. So you spend a lot of time focusing on those areas in the first episode. So I think once we got through that, that's when it's like, okay, all the characters are now falling into place where they're going to be for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Before we move on to episode 2, we got our first boot rankings. I'll just do the top 10, and then I'll see where you guys have Timbertina ranked. So our top 10 right now, Tina Wesson from All Stars at number 1, followed by Sonia Christopher, Wanda Shirk and her singing at number 3, Deb at 4, Diane at 5, Peter Harkey and his holes at number 6, Pastor John Raymond at 7, Brooke Garati at 8, Jonathan Libby at 9, and Nicole Delma from Pearl Islands at 10. So that is our top 10 as it stands. Where do you guys have Tina Shear, Timbertina?
If I were to, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'd probably have her middle of the pack because of the story.
Yeah, I had her at like 21 on my list. Yeah, because of her story too. I had to like go back and remember exactly what happened at the time. And I was like, oh yeah, like she had literally an arc that carried from Guatemala that we didn't even know about that was introduced into this season, kind of thing.
Yeah. Mike.
Yeah, I think she was one of the, besides Tina Wesson, when I did my rankings, I just went in like order. So Sonia was number 1, and then anybody that I came to that I felt was better than Sonia, I just would move to the top. Right. She was one of the ones I remember moving to the top. So I'm pretty sure I put her above Sonia, but under Tina Wesson. I think that's kind of where I ranked her because she was a character. She was so much fun to watch, even if she was only there for one episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had her at 16th out of 57. So I had her up there as well. And I mean, again, if she is on a tribe with Cirie, if she isn't on a tiny tribe, I think she makes it farther. So, but where Tina Shear, Timbertina, is now our new number 7. She is right under Peter Harkey and above Pastor John Raymond. So, which again, I think he is way too high, but whatever.
How y'all were voting, but all right.
I don't know. We have to ask in that chat. I feel like people are being pretty tight-lipped in that chat about where they voted. So. But all right, let's move on to episode 2. And we have our swap from 4 tribes to 2 tribes. And so they start picking their tribes. And interesting stuff. We have Danielle making probably her first mistake and picking the guy with the Boston tattoo, Shane, because Danielle's from Boston. So she has to try to go for that connection, and little does she know that Shane and her are not going to get along.
It's what's the word? It's initial. What's the phrase? Initial. I can't.
Reaction, perception.
Yes, you go based off what
your impression.
First impressions. Initial impressions. Yeah, first impressions. Goodness.
Yep.
And I'm stone cold sober, so initial impressions, first impressions go a long way for the better or for the worst, but I think for us as an audience, it's definitely for the better. And for Casaya, it's for the worst. I would say from top to bottom, they just end up on the wrong tribe that just ends up doing well.
Like they were so dysfunctional, but they like did so well at like everything because they were just like they knew how to like oh yeah, like I hate you, but I know that we need to like stay like really tight knit for like the rest of the season. And this was the first season that I got to that I saw a tribe. I know it's happened before, but I vividly remember this one being like Casaya was just very not willing to budge at all when like the merge would eventually happen when the leftovers from like Mina come over. They're like, no, not like nothing. I vividly remember this season for that being, it was really potent and it was really strong. Even though they were as dysfunctional as they were, they still knew how to like get together. And we have all the big characters that we were talking about, excluding Terry, end up on the same tribe together and work well together for a while.
Yeah. We'll get to that moment as well because it is interesting. Like we'll get to later. Like they work so well together, but so poorly at the same time, and they're still able to come together when we get to them later, like at the merge, and they'll be like, "Yeah, we got to get together and pick off the other side."
Oh yeah.
So,
well, I think that even the order of who picks whom, like this idea that Danielle picks Shane, who then picks Courtney, and it's just like, oh my god! And you know, having watched it already, you're like, oh god, like why did they pick these people? But it's to what Coach Drew and Jonathan are saying, like it really is good TV. Like this ends up being one of the most fun tribes to watch because of the dysfunction.
It's funny because it's like they would pick, it'd be like, oh, I think I'm gonna like Shane, no, and like, oh, I think I'm gonna like Courtney, no, and it just keeps going down the list. and which eventually leads to like Bruce being the one outlier who goes to Exile, and it's like, okay, was that the first time that it was like, oh, was that the first ever like you will join the losing tribe after a tribal council? Bruce is the first person to go through that. Okay,
So,
So
which
what's
is
interesting about that setup too is that because it was Casaya that went to tribal, it was definitely going to be a man that went to Exile the second time around because of the way they picked the tribes. It would have to be a man left at the end. So I found that kind of intriguing. I don't know if they meant to do that or if it just they weren't thinking through like the logistics of that, but it would have to have been a man. If males had gone to tribal council, then it would have been a woman going the second time.
Right. Yeah, I do find that intriguing as well. I mean, poor Bruce. Bruce goes through a lot this season. He's gonna end up being our second Medevac ever.
Zen Garden.
Yeah, Zen Garden that he kicks Courtney out of because she won't let him just be in peace for 1 second.
She goes right to that one spot in his garden. You have a whole beach that you could go to. I guarantee you the camera people were like, go like right there, like stand like right there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And like to piss off someone as Zen as Bruce, like you have to be that annoying. And no offense, Courtney, if you're watching this, but like what were you thinking? Like that is like piss off Bruce? How?
Yeah.
Like
she was probably told
understood.
to do it. I feel like she was told like you should
I feel like she did that on purpose.
Okay,
not on pure purpose to antagonize Bruce, but just like, hey, here's a spot that's already done and made up. Why would I go do and make up another one down the beach? This one's right here.
Yeah. I feel like with Courtney, she just purposely like she likes antagonizing people and getting them pissed off. Her like she loves Shane apparently. Like
that's the craziest dynamic ever. I know we'll get to that ever, but when he blows up on her later and he's like, "Why are you so sensitive?" Like it's just like I can't. We'll get to that later, but oh my god, like it's soon to be with Casaya, soon to be.
Yeah, I also wanted to mention my another one of my I'll just be mentioning favorite Shane Powers quotes throughout the episode, but even before they swap, and he starts screaming, "No more torrential downpours, sir God, no more of those."
He's a gift that gives. He's a player that I didn't learn to appreciate until many rewatches. Like every other rewatch I've had since the initial watch.
How many did it take? Because I need to know.
3 or 4.
Okay, I'm at 3, so I'm not quite there yet.
I appreciate what he does this season. What he does for this season. He's a fun antagonist. Like I said, it's one of those things where it's like, in no world would I ever want this man to win. In no world would I really want this man to. I mean, I guess coming back would have been cool. But there's no way that I want this man on a lot of other seasons. But with this tribe and this season, you kind of need him. You need him because, once again, because Mina doesn't have Shane, they're just boring. Like it's a very dull watch of like, okay, we're gonna get the winner of the women, and then that's it. Over here, it's like we don't know what's going to happen because we have this volatile person in Shane. We kind of understand the dynamics of other people. He's got this poor personal alliance with these folks, but like it's very clear they don't actually like him.
Yeah.
You can't have that. You don't get that every season. You don't get characters like that every season.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He almost gets hit by lightning.
Yeah. He's like, the place breathes bad luck, and then lightning just hits the camera.
He's like, oh god, like Cirie has to medically check him. Like he's going through. He's having like explosions of like just rage on people. Like he's just.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Yep, absolutely. We'll get there when we get there. But let's get to the moment in episode 2. So Casaya loses, and Shane now threatens to quit the game. It's basically, vote me out. I can't take it anymore. Aras, so this is our first big winner moment for Aras. And so Aras goes up to Shane like, hey, I don't want you to quit the game. We're going to do something else. And then Aras is the one to tell Cirie and Melinda one of them is going home tonight. Which
old school move.
Yeah, this is
after announcing that he wanted to quit.
Right. Yeah. It's so bold of Aras to just like go up to both of them and just be like, one of you is going home tonight.
because this is like hippie golden boy Aras, where it's just kind of like he reminded me a lot of like Blake from Guatemala, and that's why I thought like he was gonna get voted out early when this happened, but then he doesn't, because he's apparently the one that like takes the leadership charge, or the under the radar leadership charge of Casaya, and to boldly go up to Cirie and be like, one of the two of you are going to go home. And they could have just very, very well just like cut Cirie's time short in the game, which is like the other what if of like, wow, they actually were considering about doing that, but they just didn't do it because I think Cirie was that socially good at blending in, and they're like, well, we like her a little bit more, we'll keep her around, and then she just went off from there. But that was a very bold claim from Aras to do that, and it worked too at the time. So
I just think it's interesting watching his story arc, because in the beginning you're given this kind of like golden boy hippie kind of chill vibe, and as the season kind of progresses, this is the first moment that we really see the real Aras. But like as the season progresses, we kind of see a little bit more of like this kind of like gritty, like rude, not kind of so nice,
abrasive
hippie. Yeah,
kind of like, he's got like a condescending kind of attitude to him a little bit.
This is a great setup for the rest of like kind of how he ends up running the game. Because he doesn't run based on charm. I think he runs based on kind of like almost like empty threats like throughout the season. So it's really interesting to watch.
Well, and I feel like because everybody wants to beat Terry so badly, they keep Aras around. So
which led to like a really cool rivalry between Terry and Aras, because I think Aras could like he could physically like do stuff, but he was we see with him later in Blood versus Water that he is actually competitive.
Right.
It's just like him having that anchor in Terry really, I think, also brought the season, up a notch when they're always competing against each other. But in these early episodes, he's not necessarily like you're saying, like he's not like the true golden boy hippie that you think on the surface level. He's a little more, could potentially be condescending,
rough around the edges,
but also be like, he's more of like he's tricky. He's tricky to kind of.
He's a frat boy that doesn't want to believe he's a frat boy.
Yeah, that's
a good yes.
Yeah, that's a really good. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, he's only 24 at the time of the season, so I mean, he doesn't have too much life experience either. So, but yeah, so Melinda does go, and now we'll just kind of skip around a bit. So, I mean, some funny moments. We have Shane's thinking seat. You can't take this one. I'll go get another one.
And it gets to the point where as you're watching these pre-merge episodes where it's like, I don't care. Like, I know I keep bringing this up, but I don't care about anything that's happening in Lamina. I don't.
No.
Just stop showing us them. I like nothing that you can show me. I don't care that he was an astronaut. I don't care about any of this. Just what kind of wild shit is happening over here, and maybe show me Exile every now and then.
Yeah.
And it's this thing is like, because you're almost rooting, unless you're rooting for Terry, you're almost rooting for Casaya to basically steamroll their way to the merge so we get more time with them, because the alternative isn't looking a lot of fun, looking like a lot of fun for a merge, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the narrative part of Lamina is like, hey, here's structure, here's normality, right? Like they kind of run kind of a tight ship over at Lamina. Nobody's really angry with each other. Nobody's pointing fingers at anybody. So it's kind of like setting up this, like, this is the good tribe. This is the nice tribe.
Yeah.
But nice guys don't finish first, right? So it's kind of setting up that narrative, I think, and then letting Terry kind of be the hero of the group. But you're right. I think that there's a lot of like lack of narrative with Lamina. There's nothing happening. So it's unfortunate how boring they are.
Yeah.
Get rid of the women, and that's it.
Yeah, they only get rid of the women.
That's also
right?
problematic.
Yeah.
And then eventually Dan. I was like, oh.
Yeah, well, it is funny because
that's because they had to.
That's
right.
funny. Dan, they're like, you're physically weak, and he's like, that's a good reason, guys. And it's like, and then he goes and meets it with Terry in the woods, and he's like, hey man, it's been fun, but like it's like, like you guys were saying, it's kind of like boring. It's not really like that interesting, and it doesn't really set them up for success necessarily going into merge later on down the road.
I think like the only really things that happen over at Lamina that I can really remember, Sally loses the spear. So Terry's upset about that. And then like obviously we'll talk about Terry at Exile. And then Nick and Austin get sick from the beans, and then the Dan stuff happens. So like there's Dan Fuego. So yeah, I mean that's really what happens at Lamina.
That the most interesting thing about Lamina is the fact that the guy's name is Dan Fuego.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. What's Daffy Duck want?
Like, come on. I don't care about Lamina. Like, I found myself looking at my phone during their segments this time.
Yeah.
I don't think I wrote a single note about Lamina at all.
Yeah.
Did you remember their name before we came on?
No.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
Lamina.
I'm not gonna spend too much time on Lamina. I don't even think we need to touch on their tribals to be until.
I think we already spent too much time on them.
Yeah, I just want to make fun of the Dan Fuego tribal later on, but yeah, I did want to touch on that immunity challenge where they have like it's the wrestling for the bag, and we'll see it in Heroes versus Villains. And the funny thing is that Ruth Marie literally has like a head start, and Bobby just goes over, drags her by the shirt over to the mat. Like it's so funny.
Oh, Bob Dog. We really we were a couple rounds away from having you at the merge, and
I know.
Yeah.
Bob Dog would have been fun. I mean, he's so fun that they put him on the DVD cover. Like,
yeah,
people love Bob Dog.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think he was involved with a lot of like charity events too after the show. So
yeah, he goes, or at least he used to. I don't know if he still does, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's skip ahead. So episode 4, the only note I have that we should talk about is obviously Terry finds the idol, the shrunken head, and this fits in with the theme because we've been to Panama twice before. So the theme this time is voodoo and like shrunken heads and all this other stuff. So it's a disgusting looking idol. So.
Yeah.
It's also really cool to look at. Like it's also very big, which that's a running thing with a lot of these early versions of the idol where they're like, you got to hide them, especially when you get to China. But it's cool to watch this in Cook Islands back to back when it's like the super idol and, basically people holding everyone hostage by saying, hey, you can't do this. Right, and seeing how it works for one person and almost works for another person for Survivor. I think to say, hey, maybe we shouldn't have it this overly powered. But like, yeah, Terry was also doing a lot on his own with the winning of the immunities and all that. But like, hey, maybe we don't want people to just
show it and be like, hold people hostage.
Yeah.
Well, and I agree with you to one extent, but I do want to state that like that was kind of the way they created Exile Island, right? So the other tribe is sending strong members of the other tribe to Exile, so only a strong member is going to find the idol, right? And so I think that's where you have to start thinking like in future seasons, if this was to be a thing where there would be a super idol every time, you would have to decide like, I'm not going to send the strong people over there because we want to eventually flush this idol. We don't want somebody who's going to win challenges to also have an idol. So I think that there's a little piece of strategy to that just wouldn't have been thought out in a first season with that.
Yeah, because wasn't it with Guatemala? Because obviously that was the first season with an idol. Was that just like a normal idol for Guatemala?
Yeah,
and then
it's an immunity necklace, basically.
And then
it was only allowed to use that one tribal council, so he had to use it. Like he went in, and everyone knew he was safe.
Yeah, and that's why I thought, because my memory is always shoddy with Panama and Cook Islands with the idol and stuff like because these two seasons, it's basically a super idol, right? Where you can just like have it out if the votes are your name. Because it's like kind of like reverse psychology in a way where you're just like, oh, I have it. I can openly show it to people. And like, they vote for me. I'm going to see it. I can kind of like wait until the votes are read and then do it. And I think, I guess like after Cook Islands, it was like, it's a little too overpowered. We're going to like dumb it back down to where before the votes are read kind of thing. But again, in these two seasons, I think it was just like a really cool, for someone like Terry, I think he absolutely needed a super idol. Like it was like you're winning these challenges and to have like that. And I was like, if there's anybody that I want to have a super idol, it's Terry in the season. And he seemed like he was the right person for that, for his character to have that for as long as he went with it in the game. because they were like, we are going to vote you out as soon as we can. Like they were telling him that, like once we get to the merge, it's like every plea he had to the Casaya to form an alliance, we're like, no, we're not doing it. And it was kind of like you think I'm going to go down that easily? Like I have this and I'm kicking all your asses in individually challenges. So it went from like a lack of, we don't respect this guy at all, to like, oh crap, like we really do need to get rid of this guy because he's a threat kind of thing. So I think as Super Idol at the time was actually really cool to see it used, even only for a short time in these first 2 seasons of 12 and 13.
Yeah, I'm okay with it being like here when we start having idols, but obviously as it went on and it evolved, like I like obviously better what we have now. And then obviously we're gonna get super idols for the 2 Brains Brawn Beauty seasons as well, in some capacity. So but I don't think we need to see super idols that often. So
well, especially because they've literally never worked. Like they've literally never. They even changed the name. It's the Tyler Perry Idol now. Still didn't work.
Nope.
Not even a name change could save it.
Nope. The power of
not even Tyler Perry could save it.
Yeah, not even Tyler Perry can save it.
All right. So let's get to episode 5 because this is where some fun happens at Casaya. So we have that fish challenge where Bobby just absolutely dominates, chopping fish heads off. Like, geez, dude. Like, I could not do that. But and then we're gonna get Casa de Charmin, and Bobby and Bruce are gonna sleep in the outhouse and with the wine, and that's gonna piss off the rest of Casaya. But it's so funny that they can fit both of them in this little outhouse.
It's such a wholesome, I guess wholesome would be the right word, moment. Because it's this large black guy and this small Asian man drinking wine in basically a porta potty, and just everyone like, and Bobby just does not care in the morning. Like, oh man, that was our wine. He's like, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't care. It's one of those that continue, like one of these moments where it's like, yes, what's going on in Casaya? Oh, they're getting drunk in a porta potty. That's awesome.
That they built and then they wanted to use it as a storage facility, but then Bobby went and like used it, and they're just like, damn it, like they get like so mad at him about it. But like Bruce like shaking hands with Bobby, like, I'm never gonna vote you out, man, and like what proceeds to happen like the rest of the episode. But then like Cirie going to the outhouse and finding like just Bruce like folded in there, and she's like, oh, so there's the wine bottle that we were looking for. Like Bruce has it. It was a good episode.
This is one of my favorite episodes.
I'm curious how much Cirie had to do with this, because it doesn't really show her doing her thing as much as I wanted to. But like Bobby is a strong competitor. Bobby is somebody that is not making waves. Yes, okay, he drank the wine, but like this is really the first time we see a big like everyone's really annoyed at Bobby. Everyone's annoyed at Shane. Everyone's annoyed at Courtney. Nobody likes Danielle's accent. Like I don't understand how Bobby ends up the target here, because he's literally carrying them on his shoulders in challenges. And so I'm Cirie had to have pulled some strings, because she was all about her going home at that point, and she's like, let the chaos reign. Like I want all the chaos, all the people at each other's throats. So I think she uses this Bobby situation to her advantage. That's my take on it. I think that's what happened.
Because literally Danielle, Cirie, and Courtney all vote for Bobby, which ends up being like a 3-2-1-1 tribal council, which ends up sending him home. I think it was mainly because Danielle was like, he's crude and nasty, and I don't want him here. And Courtney will be like, we'll go with whatever. And then Cirie kind of made a decision in that moment to be like, well, Shane's going to throw his vote on Aras.
And Aras is going to vote for Bruce.
Yeah, and then Bruce is going to vote for Courtney.
That was a messy tribal.
It was a very messy tribal. And
so crazy. I almost think, like you said, Mike, I think Cirie definitely had a part in it. I feel like because she knew Bobby and Aras were from the same tribe, and I feel like Bobby and Aras were closer to each other, obviously, than Nick and Austin. So what if she gets rid of Bobby, then she can keep Aras to herself, which ends up working out because they end up being really close allies. So
agreed. The entire dynamic of the game changes right here, and it's still just a Casaya tribal, but it's Bob Dog once again. Oh, what happens if Cirie doesn't catch any black here? Cirie's now gotten to the point where not only is she not the next one up, like Aras had told her 3 episodes ago, but now she's basically calling the shots with at least a couple of people here. And we're now trying to figure out which one of these guys are going to go instead. And all you have to do is, if you're streaming, it's like, okay, yeah, that's great. Yeah, whatever. Like, yeah, that's fine. Whatever. And what happens if Bruce or Aras or somebody else goes home here? What happens if they don't drink the fucking wine in the porta potty? Like, that's what's so interesting about watching these seasons over and over again. It's just like I know I'm rambling, but
no, it's another what if. I mean, Shane and I can definitely look at which one of these. I think the Cirie one is better, but I think this one is an interesting one as well.
Oh man.
All right, let's make fun of the damn Fuego boot episode, because this is the fact that the preview for this episode from episode 5 is like the most dramatic tribal council, the biggest tribal council ever, and it's this. This is the most ridiculous way to tease this episode, because they thought it'd be emotional. Listen, I like Dan Fuego.
He gives the salute.
Yeah, as long as he
astronaut salute on the way out. I'll see you in space.
As long as much as like I like him talking about his like astronaut stuff, like I'm sure he's a really nice guy. But
yeah, love you, Dan.
Come on the show, Dan.
Come on the show, Dan. He's like in a space station and he does it like live. He's like up there.
That'd be cool.
But yeah, it's so ridiculous, so corny, and like Terry, I actually feel like Terry would have been better for Terry to have Dan around maybe. But I also think maybe Terry's like, okay, if I have Nick and Austin, I have 2 shields over me because these guys are just as strong as I am. So people are going to look at them more than maybe they look at Dan. But
yeah, and not only do they tease it going into the episode, they tease it during the episode too. And later, or no, I don't know. Do they say in later? Something happens where they like tease it in the episode. I'm if I remember correctly, but it's so like, I understand the whole honesty and integrity thing. We got it enough with 48, and we're gonna get it again in a couple seasons after this. And this is really one of the only times where it's like 100% legit. Like, oh yeah, it's my word is my bond and all of this other stuff. And then, hey, sorry, Dan. Sorry, Dano, you gotta go. And Dan, you know what? Yeah, I get it. It's fine. And we get to tribal, and we're all being emotional over what? Like this
They're
is
playing the music.
the really correct music.
They want you to cry.
Tina telling us that her son has died, and then we're voting her out. This is Dan Fuego telling us, "Hey, I was an astronaut, and I'm kind of a big deal, and we're voting him out." We've had actual 9/11 firefighters and cops since before this that don't get boot episodes like that or the music like that, but because it was about honesty and integrity, we have to show like, oh yeah, like this is a moment, y'all.
Plus they're like, this guy's the first astronaut, he gets a whole bit. It was...
I also wonder if it's a little bit of just like showmanship in the sense of like, yep, we recognize Mina is a very boring tribe, so come watch this amazing tribal council. Like, I think that's kind of what it was, but like, agreed, they were hyping up this whole, like, I mean, like, cool, he's an astronaut. Like, I think that's awesome. I think that's really like amazing. Like, I couldn't do it. So like, good on him. But there's a lot of people, like you said, that have played the game either before him and even after him that are just as heroic, that are just as like, that cool aspect of what they are and who they are, and they don't get a boot episode like that. So very intriguing, but I think it had more to do with just like, let's liven this up somehow.
Yeah, I agree. Last thing of the pre-merge, I mean, we have Shane calling Danielle a meatball, which is funny. I
thought this was the beginning of the end, right? Like this is like the end of Casaya. There's no way they bounce back from this, right? There's no way.
Oh my god, it's so funny. But other things, so behind the scenes info I did want to touch on. So Aras and Shane apparently found a brick of cocaine that washed up on shore. I needed to mention that. I don't know if they actually took any. I feel like there's been conflicting reports. I feel like Shane said they didn't take any, but
I can't believe Shane. I believe because I feel like Shane's the type of guy who would be like, "Oh yeah, we totally did cocaine." Like,
Yeah,
I
feel like he would.
He probably would be more chilled out or more amped up, depending on how his personality would have been.
Well, maybe that's why the merge was so crazy.
Yeah, he seemed more even keel.
I'm coke.
It's so funny. But anyway, let's get to our post merge. So we have our post merge tribe. We have Gitanos, which at least is a much better name than some of the ones we've been getting lately. So nice. I'm cool with Gitanos.
Are you cool with Gitanos, Jake? You're cool with it?
Yeah, I think it's good.
You like Gitanos?
Again, it's better than Jacum last week's.
Jacum kind of sounds cool.
I mean, it kind of does, but again, it's a combination. So
yeah. But this is the first. This is the point in the game where I as a viewer, I was like, okay, so this is where it comes alive because you see it. You're merging. They're all 4 on a paddle. Like the old Laminas are coming over.
Yeah. And
then the 6 Casaya come together. And I'm like, this is the point in the game where I was like, you see certain characters like Sari finally just come to the forefront. The Aras come to the forefront. The Shanes come to the forefront. Just everybody's personality is starting to get there. And when the old Laminas come over and Terry's trying to do his thing, it just showed me how strong Casaya was when he's going up to Sari on the beach and he's like, hey, we think we should work. He's giving his pitches and Sari's like, you don't have anything to offer me because we're in the power position here. And that was the first season that I feel like I really got to that I vividly remember was oh, they are a locked, merged unit from an old tribe that's not budging at all. That is going to vote every single one of you out, and they are not budging on it. And it only takes one man, and is a hidden immunity idol, and his immunity challenge wins to kind of throw a wrench in that possible plan the whole time. But it was just very potent when I watched it at the time. They were just we're not budging at all on you guys. They literally hold hands when they're coming up. They're like, yo, everyone come up.
Yeah.
We're not moving. We're not budging. We're good. Yeah. And that was it. That was it for the rest
all the rice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So any other thoughts on that, Drew or Mike?
Shane was giving me Boston Rob vibe. Just this whole idea of we're tight. Nobody's budging. Nobody's gonna flip. We're all together. Just that whole buddy up. Nobody lost.
Yeah.
You lose your partner. Really just smart move on his part, but very Boston Rob, and it just was. Yeah, it was very aggressive.
And I agree with you. And I would say the biggest difference between the two of them doing the exact same thing is Boston Rob was doing that with a bunch of automatons that were going to listen. Shane saying this to Casaya, it's okay, yeah, but
Danielle and Courtney.
Yeah, we want to do this, not because you're telling us to do this. We all have plans of basically once we get to 6, this is what we're gonna do, and you're not in this plan. I think that's the biggest difference because I think everyone had Rob in their final 3 plans in Redemption Island because they were all robots.
Yeah,
it's like the perception that the on the forefront, it seems like Shane is in charge, but he's actually not in charge. It's Aras that's actually in charge.
Right.
What's going on. And so just Shane doing his antics and doing whatever it is he does, it's okay, we need you for right now, but we're going to let you pretend that you're, calling the shots of what's going to happen with Mina down the road, which was very crazy to see. And I remember seeing when Lamina's trying to bring over the Casayas and try to switch things up. I don't know what it was about this season, but I just vividly remember this is the first time I saw people that you could just see in their face. They're not buying it. They're not buying it. Other seasons you could be okay, maybe they're thinking about it, but we've all played some version of Survivor in some shape or form. So we all know when you're talking to someone and you're pitching, you can tell in their face if they're actually listening to you or if they're just not there. And this was the first season where I was they're they're trying to talk to Bruce. And he's just no, I'm this, you feel it's going on deaf ears, basically.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it doesn't help. Terry's pitch is, let's take the next 2 weeks off. You guys are going to be set because you're going to be number 5 or 6, basically. I feel like he's just telling them that. And it's who is going to take that pitch to come to final 6 with 4 of you that are so tight? And also Aras and Shane, I think, do a great job of basically making Bruce feel like he's the big shot. Like
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, pump up Bruce. He's like in with us, and so I think that's a good move again by Aras and also by Shane.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so we'll just get the first individual immunity. So Terry does win, but Austin tries to appear like he's weak, pretends to like fall down and then get back up, and trying to make it so that they don't target him. So like
it worked.
It did work. It did work
for a round.
For a round, and then
he blew his own spot up at Tribal. Like,
right, he
don't
does
tell them that that's what you're doing.
I think that's why then everybody calls him a slime ball next episode. So like, it did not work because he blew his own spot up.
Well, I also wonder if his age had anything to do with it, because like you're in this tribal council, you're talking to Jeff, and like Jeff's asking you like really, really deep questions. I wonder if he just like got into the zone of like, yep, this is what my gameplay was. This is what, like, you're interviewing me, I'm interviewing back, and oops, I forgot that 9 people are listening to me talk about how I duped them. So yeah, I think he fogged over, I think, during tribal council.
Yeah, absolutely. And so yeah, Nick Stanbury is gonna go for such a boring character, gives one of the most inspirational final words ever.
There's a lot of inspirational stuff this season. Like everyone's like dropping like bombs of like knowledge and stuff, like post game, after game. Like it's everyone's like, believe in yourself. You know, it goes a long way, and that's why I thought the season was like it held a lot with weird little quotes like that from different players throughout the whole time.
Yeah. Nick leaves Cirie his socks and then gives inspirational stuff. All right. I mean, we can kind of skip around because it's just Austin and Sally going. Austin Cardi did make the first fake hidden immunity idol, though, like behind the scenes. They didn't show it, but yeah, Yao Man is not actually the first to make the fake idol. It was Austin.
Do you think they told him like, hey, you can't do that? But then they were like, afterwards, like, huh, that's actually kind of a good idea. Let's let someone else do it.
I don't know. I feel like it's just like it didn't work because I feel like I just feel like no one bought into it. I don't know.
Yeah. Austin, come on the show. Tell us what happened.
yeah. I don't know. There were some funny quips Austin had, but like kind of funny, but it wasn't like how funny Shane says things. But I don't know.
The 2 generic white guys this season are better than the ones in Vanuatu, but but after today, I will forget Austin and Nick's names again until the next time I watch Panama. So
yeah. And then the only other thing from like this group of Laminas going home is that the Eat or Compete, this is the first time we do get that challenge. And so Casaya does like act super cocky, and it just comes down to Aras, who is competing for them. He's basically the poster boy for Beat Terry. And then Sally and Terry. Yeah. And then Terry continues to win. Shane has the funny shot of the food hanging out of his mouth.
I know we kind of just glanced over Sally, and like, cool. I really liked Sally this season. I think I think the best Sally moment wasn't even because of her. It's that, hey, the optics tell me they're going to vote her out next. We don't want them to vote her out next. We're going to send her to exile, and we'll let you guys turn on each other. Yeah, Sally was fun for like what she was in the season. And I'm glad she ended up being the last Lamina person standing outside of Terry.
Right. I actually did like Sally as well. I mean, she was a fan, so I mean, like that's good on her. Also, Dalton Ross loved her for her knee socks. So if you ever read his recaps, I'm pretty sure he mentions Sally's knee socks every single recap. But
I mean, Sally held her own in challenges. I thought she was really like she was part of the team, despite the social, inner workings of Lamina. But I think what was interesting is that Sally was almost like the pawn in other people's games, but never got to be an actual pawn. Where like in the she goes to exile. That's kind of a pawn moment. She potentially could be a pawn if Terry plays the idol on Sally here. I think that was a missed opportunity by Terry in a huge way.
Yeah, I asked him about this on the what if, and I feel like he was more thinking the mistake was later, but I do think he should have at least played it on Sally, played it on Mina to keep an ally in the game, and he doesn't do that. So
well, and then he fractures Casaya because somebody's going to go home. I think it's Aras goes home.
Right,
Aras is the glue, kind of keeping Aras and Cirie are the glue.
Right,
you take Aras out, like Cirie's going to flounder. She's going to flip. She's going to do what she's got to do to survive because we all know who Cirie is. So like we see that happening, right? Like looking back on it. So I think that's a huge missed opportunity is to get that Aras out of there.
Especially if you already have immunity too. So at the time though, it's so early in the series.
You're both safe.
Yeah. He was probably thinking like, I need to keep this like longer than actually
in case I lose.
Yeah, there's gonna be like another one out there that I could potentially find. Because at this point, is he already like flaunting it around camp?
Yeah, because he's trying to get Bruce and Danielle to flip. He said on the interview that like he thinks they had Bruce and Danielle just wouldn't flip, so Bruce didn't flip. So I don't know if that's completely accurate. I think Aras and Shane did a good job of keeping Bruce roped in. So all right. I mean, so let's talk about Bruce's medevac. There's some fun character moments and like a sad moment of Bruce going out. I mean, Shane is naked. Courtney's singing songs while Bruce tells her to stop. Like, what, Courtney? What are you doing?
Get out of my face, please.
Yeah, like it's ridiculous. This is horrible on Courtney.
Well, the problem. We're in a fun group. I think this is either one or two episodes where it's like, yes, this is because earlier we have the rash.
Yeah,
I think this is why he's naked at this point, right?
Yeah. Because he has Cirie to check.
So we're here. I think this is also the touchy subjects episode.
Yes.
So this is it's one of these great episodes that in my head, and I just watched it again, in my head, I was like, no, that has to be like 2 or 3 episodes, right? No, it all happens within a 50-ish minute time frame. And tells a great story once again. And we don't even get a boot during this. We just lose Bruce. Who is, as far as characters, wasn't the best on here, but like it doesn't matter that we don't get a boot in this episode because everything leading up to it is so great. The fact that touchy subjects happens and Courtney gets outed as a poser and basically everything else. The fact that Courtney and Shane have another fight. The fact that Cirie is basically telling everyone, hey, I have a better read on this game than all of you because I'm getting all of these questions right and you're not. And for it to end in such a Casaya type way where Bruce is dying, Shane is doing his thing, and Courtney is I know all of you guys have brought it up before, but she is, whether she knows it or not, is antagonizing this poor man.
Yeah. And he's like on his thinking chair. It's like, he's like, leave me alone.
Well, Bruce can't poop and she's still trying to sing him songs. So like
I agree. This is probably one of my favorite episodes of the entire series because you've got a lot of firsts here. Bruce is medevac by choice, right? Or not necessarily by choice, but like, he doesn't fall in a fire. But you've got Bruce medevac. You've got just these great moments of like, there's a point where Bruce is moaning because of his stomach and Cirie is moaning because of her massage. So it's like that little like that editing going on was really fun. I don't know what this means. Maybe you guys can help me. I wrote down Aras picks Terry surprised emoji. I don't know why I wrote that.
Go to Exile.
Was that a throw? I don't know what I meant by that. I'm totally lost.
Aras picks Terry. I don't think he.
Oh, Coach, you're muted.
Yeah. For the last question, there's an
yes. The challenge throw. Yes.
Right. Yeah. So like that happens. You got Shane acting worse than Liz. Like I think the whole moment after Touchy Subjects is so raw and so fun, but also uncomfortable to watch. I mean, Shane is literally melting down. Like he's angry he doesn't get picked. He's angry he didn't win. He's throwing his thing around. You've got Courtney whining in the corner because she's a poser. But I mean, she's a poser.
Bruce is dying.
Yeah, and Courtney makes it about her. Oh
And
my
Sari's
god, I'm
getting
so
a
sad.
massage and like
Yeah. Is this
The
where
whole
we
episode
get?
is gold.
Yeah. Is this where we also get, or is it next episode? But we'll just talk about it. Where we have the moment where Shane threatens to kill Courtney in her shitty little apartment.
oh,
I think it was this episode too.
I think it was
Okay.
this one.
Oh,
where
that
they
might have been
got
this
her.
episode.
Yeah.
because I
You
think
just-
when they're all bitching when they get back to camp,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's what he says, it's a metaphor and blah blah blah, and
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
and my apartment's not shitty. It's like, what?
He's
gotta-
like, he's like,
You're actively messing with us at this point. Like
Yeah.
that.
what is it?
You didn't
What
just
she
say
goes,
that.
she's like, "You're not serious, are you?" And he's like, "I'm not serious." And he's like, "You're so damn sensitive." And I was just like, I freaking love Shane. Shane, come on,
Yeah.
that's it.
We need Shane on here just
Love
so.
you, Shane.
Oh my god.
Shane, please yell at me.
Oh,
It's like some weird kink.
oh my god! And didn't like Courtney think like she's like, "I think Shane loves me," or
Yeah.
just something like
Oh,
that. And he's like,
yeah.
"Oh my god! Like this is ridiculous." Like
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So let's get to the famous the first big Cirie move that we know and love, the 3-2-1. Because
yeah.
this is where Courtney is going to go, because Cirie knows that Courtney is going to get dragged to the end by both Terry, by Shane. And so she's like, yeah, if I can get Danielle and Aras to vote for Courtney, we can make sure that both Terry and Shane can't drag her to the end. So, and fill up a spot. Like, this is a great move by Cirie. It just doesn't end up panning out for her still, but I still think this is a great move for her.
Isn't this move like listed as like the first like get rid of the goat move
Yes.
in Survivor? Because she's like, I remember seeing that edit and Cirie like Cirie talking to the camera and explaining the process behind this was so good. She was like, Shane wants to take Courtney to end because he knows he can beat her, and like Terry wants it. It shows Shane. It's like that shows Terry. It's like Terry wants to take Courtney to the end because of the exact same reason. And she's like, that means to me that Courtney's the biggest threat here, and she needs to go. And I was like, oh shit! Like then Cirie managing to go to Danielle and Aras, and them kind of being that new power trio.
Yeah.
For the rest of the game was like, it just seeing Cirie go from couch potato to like this, and this is the first time I ever saw Cirie ever in Survivor was this. I was like, oh, she knows what she's doing. And it's like, I wonder if she ever comes back. And then it was just like, it was really fun to see her in her first outing to do these big moves like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was a fun little jump from Vanuatu where Vanuatu, everyone hates Twilight because she's swearing on her kids. And it's just kind of glanced over here, but Cirie swears on her kids to Shane. And I'm glad, like, and I don't care then, I don't care, like, but it's fun to see that people aren't putting, because Shane does put stock into swearing in this, because he's trying to take the swear back. Because if he doesn't, his son is damned to hell, like Sarge said. Yeah. But he takes his name, but Cirie does the same thing. And at one point, Shane, like, calls her fat. Like, he doesn't use the exact words, I don't think, but he basically just says that she's fat.
Yeah, he says all 300. I've had to carry all 300 pounds of her.
Yeah. So we're getting to a point here once again where it's like, okay, what's going to happen? And it's one of those things where, and Jonathan just brought this up. If you have a final 2 deal or final 3 deal or whatever, and there's someone that's just kind of doing like this, you better get rid of them then, because then you're going to be upset that this person has stolen one of your spots in the game. It's like, well, you know how you deal with that? Just get rid of them now, because you think I'm not going to go down that road. But yeah, one of the first great moves in the history of the show, and we're 12 seasons in.
Yeah. I love this move. So
because both Terry and Shane are left like dumbfounded after the tribal council. They're both like, oh shit, and that kind of like sort of brings them together a little bit. I don't know how, but like it was just like the writing was on the wall once they got past Courtney's tribal for both Terry and Terry was already like the numero uno, like get rid of him now, but Shane I think knew then. He was like, I'm actually not in control of this alliance that I thought. So it was just like a big opening for the rest of the players in the game.
Yeah. So now we get to the final 5 after Courtney's gone. Shane is being promised that fake promises by Aras and Cirie of what like actually happened, and that Danielle's next if Terry continues winning. And so we are going to get the family visit here as well. So basically, I actually like this where like 2 people and their loved ones get to go on reward. One gets to get them back at camp, one gets to give them a hug, and one gets nothing and goes to Exile Island. I actually think this is really fascinating because you really get to see who would give someone their loved ones or like give someone something and who would get absolutely nothing and is at the bottom. Like, I think this is fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically the All-Stars challenge where they like did the pecking, like the great who got the best meal all the way up to the worst, except for there are now real people involved and real feelings involved. It's not just hunger anymore, and we see it all come to a head with ours and Terry. You know,
yeah,
a mom's love is different from a wife's love, and I'm just like, what are you talking? Like, I'm very team Aras in that situation. It's like that's just dumb. That's not like, why are we doing this?
I disagree.
Okay, all right, go ahead. Go ahead.
So as somebody who is in his 40s, who does not have a significant other, who probably would never choose their significant other, I not that I would choose my mother either, but like I do see Aras's argument where it's like, okay,
I'm with Aras.
Oh, you're with Aras.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, I'm with Aras. I'm with Aras. Okay. Yeah. Okay, never mind. I don't disagree. I 1000% agree. I figured we would have Terry fans on this one, but I guess. Great.
No, I'm very team Aras.
Yeah, I think 100%. Aras is on the right here. I don't know that Terry necessarily. I don't necessarily buy into. Okay, Terry just hates women. I mean, I think I understand why. I don't necessarily think Terry hates women. I don't know.
He did vote every single woman out.
He did do that. I will see that argument. I don't know that he's anti-women. I think he's biased towards working with men necessarily.
That's fair. I would say that's a fair statement.
So, all right. So yeah. So HB, Cirie's husband. We do get to meet. HB is one of the best loved ones. I mean, he's so fantastic here. He's funny. I would love HB on Blood versus Water. Actually, I wish Cirie would have done that, and we would have gotten HB to play. So, but unfortunately, that never happened. But maybe we'll see HB again on 50 if they do the loved ones there. So, if they do the loved ones again, Drew, you're muted.
Also, check your private message or private chat.
I see it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I love HB, and it's once again, it's just one of those things that just keeps adding to this season, where you get the intro of like in your head, you think HB has come more than once, or like come out more than once, and I don't think that's true. I think this is the only time that he's come out, right? Yeah, it has to be.
I know that one of Cirie's sons comes on game.
Yeah, and then
her son comes out for 34.
Yes, yeah.
But it's just just another character in a cast of characters to the point where we have someone that's like little Boston. He's so adorable.
Yeah,
look at him.
Yeah,
like it's awesome.
Yeah, I do love that Boston got to come out, and then Terry's wife Trish is like super into this game. Like,
I loved it. Yeah. Loved every moment of it.
Like, I feel like she's a better strategist than Terry.
Literally,
because she's trying to make deals with Shane.
Yeah,
like at the reward, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Mm-hmm. But it was really cool seeing Shane just like get emotional about his son too, because he was like, he's like my son, he's my best friend, he's everything to me, and I was like, there you go, Shane.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I would love to see Terry and wife on Blood versus Water. That was my takeaway. I mean, HB and Cirie maybe, but I think Terry's wife would have rocked a Blood versus Water season.
Blood versus Water 3. Let's make it happen.
Let's do
Come on, Terry.
Come on, Mrs. Terry.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we do then get, I did want to talk about that really fun, Drew, I know you have to go in a few minutes, but I do love the immunity challenge with pouring the water in the thing and making the flag go up or ripping the flag out. And we do get Terry doing a backflip off. We have Shane doing a really bad backflip. And Sarie's like, no backflips for me, thank you.
No diving for me, thank you.
Yeah. And then you have Shane having the fantastic line of and who's gonna go next? Dun dun dun. And it's gonna be him. So
everyone likes to say that Micronesia is the season of the season of the blind side. And yeah, because basically almost every merge vote is one, but like Panama, there are like 3 that's like, wow, I like this whole blind side thing. I could get used to this. Because for the longest time, it has just been, one group or the other who's going to have the numbers. Here it's, okay, yeah, there is now plurality with every vote. Like, you can't say for certain what's going to happen anymore. And obviously that kind of changes with Cook Islands, because it kind of just goes back to I2 taking out everyone one by one. Here, even though there is a steamroll on both Terry's end and Casaya's end, there are these little votes that happen in the middle of all of those that like make it very compelling, that it doesn't just become a steamroll from one end or the other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree completely on that. So now we are going to get the Shane blindside. And again, Terry said in the interview that he wishes he would have played the idol on Shane. Or given the idol to Shane. So whether Shane would have actually believed it at the point if Terry gave it to him, I don't know, because we did get a comment on the interview saying that they don't think that Terry giving it to Shane would have worked because Shane wouldn't have believed it. So, I'm not sure if Shane really would have believed it, because I think Cirie and Aras did such a good job of lying to him. So
making him feel comfortable. It's literally written on his face when he gets voted out. He's just like,
it's so funny. It's so funny.
Like, gets up and then he's like, I'm like 1 second away from a chocolate. Like, 1 second. And then he like looks back at Jeff and is like,
I love it. It's such a fun exit line. Shane Powers. I love Shane. I wish he got on second chances. It's a shame that he did not, in my opinion. I don't know if it was just like people didn't care for his antics or like I really am not sure, but
I still don't understand how he didn't make it over certain folks in the vote, like in the fan vote. I mean, I say the same thing with T-Bird, like she should have.
Yes, T-Bird should have been there too.
I think that at a certain point he has started to like basically shit all over production, so I don't think they would have him back anymore. But yeah, second chances was like, okay, yeah, he's a lock, right? There's no way.
Yeah.
No luck.
Well, yeah, I'll let you go, Drew. So thank you for coming on, and we'll see you next time you're on. So
yeah, all right,
nice meeting you.
See ya.
See ya. All right, so we'll continue.
Final 3.
Yes, or the final 4. So we do.
4.
We do. This is.
I was like talking about us. I was like,
the final.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
Yes. So we do get 1 episode before the finale with the final 4. This is interesting. So they don't really do this, and it ends in a cliffhanger. So this is a weird.
Which I forgot about. I was like, why is there a whole nother episode? I was like really confused while watching it. I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me. And then when it cliffhung, I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense now.
Well, because they know people love Cirie by this point, so they're just like, let's keep Cirie in the finale, technically. So, yes, this is an interesting like penultimate episode. So I mean, you get, of course, the iconic Terry. Someone called the ambulance. Terry's crying on the course. Like, it's so this Aras and Terry rivalry, the battering rams. It's so good.
The childishness, like just Aras, just like totally. I think he's unraveling because Terry can't go home, right? And so it's like this final moment of just like, I'm so frustrated with the fact that this guy is still here, and I still have to like work my ass off to like vote him out and get him out of this game, that like even if I beat him here, he still has the idol. Like I still can't get him out. So I think it's just ultimate frustration from Aras's perspective. He does apologize afterwards, which I think does kind of go a long way, but
Yeah. I do
interesting that he
remember-
apologizes.
I do remember them both climbing that wall with like the
pegs,
and
yeah.
stuff,
So
and then like him
cool.
slipping in his shirt, like ripping, and I was like,
Yes.
that was like one of the coolest like Survivor rivalries I've ever seen in the show
Yeah.
was between Terry and Aras, and I'm like, imagine if Terry came out for the first Blood versus Water with his wife and
Yeah.
Aras
With Aras there, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
that would have
I
been
mean-
like pretty. That would have been sick.
At least
That'd
for
be
an
cool.
episode, we got Terry playing with Vetus, but
Yeah.
but that just didn't pan out for longer than an episode. So
No, I was like, no, love you, Vetus.
yeah, come on the show.
Come on the
both
show,
Aras
Vetus.
and Vetus. Yeah. But yeah, so Aras does win the final four immunity. And Terry did say that mistake with like the coordinates he measured wrong, and that's why Aras beat him by just seconds on the puzzle. So it's interesting what could have happened there, because then at this point, you know, Aras is gonna go if he doesn't win this final four immunity. And Cirie does not get screwed over here. So and again, the super idol lasting until like the final four here is ridiculous. Like, and we're gonna talk about it in Cook Islands next season as well. I just think it's a ridiculous thing to make it last till almost the end. So I don't know.
I wonder if production wise they didn't expect it to get that far into the game.
Right.
I think they expected that once Terry loses, they're going to vote for him and he's going to have to use the idol and flush it.
Right.
So I think the fact that 2 seasons in a row it literally gets to the end with no actual effect, I think is what ends up making them change it.
Right. I do too.
I love Cirie making fire in this episode. Not from a challenge perspective, but actually like sitting down and making fire at camp. And really like showing like how far she's come from episode 1 to episode 15 or 14. It's 14 now. So this idea that like here's my story arc, and what a way to go out is to have to make fire and really do a decent job of fighting her way, you know, into that final 3. But you know how it goes.
She's
But
such a natural in the elements. It's just crazy how like she had like no confidence in herself going out there, and she was just like, she fits right in. Like she's born to play this game. Like, like you were meant to play this game. And then she's like, I don't even know if I'm doing this correctly. And then she just has almost this flawless run her first time around and goes to the final four, which is nothing to shy away at. I mean, I'm sure there are tons of people that have played Survivor that wish they made it to at least the final four in the game. So her being able to do that and like get that far to at least another early fire making challenge is, you know, it was almost a perfect run.
Yeah. She like, I feel like people talk about how good her Micronesia game is, rightfully so, because it's amazing.
Yeah,
but
it's like
her Panama game is really good too. Like both
Mhm.
these games are impressive, and I feel like it's because Micronesia, I feel like she plays even more aggressively. In terms of strategically.
Well, she comes in knowing exactly what to do now. Like
Right.
she's more comfortable with the gameplay, and so now she can just play with the gameplay, and she can do what she needs to do.
There's not that much room for like, oh, I'm sorry kind of thing. And there was like sometimes I thought Cirie was a little villainous. You know, I was like surprised that she was on the hero tribe.
Cirie is not a hero.
I was like, she's not a hero. And I was like, dude, like I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, well, she's very cutthroat.
I think the dilemma with the heroes versus villains seasons, and I know we're not talking about it, but like the dilemma with that is that in order to be a recognizable player in the game, you can't be a pure hero. Like, I mean, I think Joe does like an interesting job this last season, but like you really can't like to really be a survivor player and be on the wall of you know, amazing players, right? Like you can't play a strictly heroic game. And so Cirie gets on the heroes tribe, I think, kind of by default, but because she's just so lovable and amazing.
She's lovable. Like it's lovable. Probably more so for her, like maybe her Panama experience and then her doing great on Micronesia. And she's just like lovable. She's the nurse. Like it's like, you know, she's a motherly figure. It's like she's got that kind of thing in the bag. And I felt, again, it was so trippy watching this in chronological order because I was like, that's Cirie gal. She's like really good. I wonder if she ever comes back. And it's like, and my brain's in like 2005 mode, right? And I'm watching this in like 2022. So I'm like, And people were like, oh, like I'm telling this to my friends, and they're like, yeah. That's like, yeah, and I'm like, she comes back again. Like it's just I really felt like I was there in like 2005 or 2007 or 2009 when the next two times like she would play. So it was really fun watching her first time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll talk about it when Heroes versus Villains comes along, but I do think a lot of that was if you're a hero, if everybody liked you in the audience, like the audience, like all the heroes are fan favorites, really.
Yeah.
So, and Cirie is one of those. I mean, she's going to technically get the card for fan favorite technically this season, because I think it was different from how they do it when we get to like China and Micronesia when they really start doing them officially. But I think Cirie and Ozzy, these 2 seasons, like they get unofficial ones.
Yeah.
So
like the ones that got close but didn't win, and it was like, oh my gosh, like they were like, if they had just made it one tribal further, they would have like won the game kind of thing.
Right. All right, so Cirie's gonna go. We do get our finale. We do get a reward challenge in the finale that, like you mentioned, Jonathan, with the pegs and like the Aras and Terry rivalry really heats up, and it's very close between them. Aras loses literally by his shirt. So it's a really good challenge. And then we get our final immunity, and Terry's at a full meal. But it really doesn't help because this is like balancing on lily pads in the water, and like I mean, I don't know. Like I don't.
Danielle's surprised at the end. She's like,
"What a terrible challenge!"
Yeah.
Can we just be like honest? That was a terrible challenge.
It wasn't.
I was like, what happened to the maze from last season? Like
so bad. Like I'm thinking about that. Like my niece and nephew do that in the pool. Like like it was just like really like we couldn't have done something a little bit more engaging. I don't know. It was just like Terry couldn't get onto the last lily pad, and that was the end of his game.
I wonder if he just sprinted across, if he could have like made it. That's probably what you got to do. Is like you either have to be like a buck, like 20 soaking wet, or you have to like just sprint across that thing and glide.
Right. Yeah. Terry was definitely screwed in this challenge. I think that Jeff has even talked about, or I think Dalton Ross is the one that talks about like Jeff and like feeling bad that Terry got very screwed in an unfair challenge here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Danielle does win. I feel like Aras kind of steps off because Danielle basically nods to him and is like, I'll take you, whatever. And this is after like obviously Terry has like saved her in that fire making challenge. And this is why like Jeff talks about Danielle as a villain, because she screws Terry over after he like saves her and lets her do fire making, which is I don't think that constitutes Danielle as a villain, to be honest.
I think she knew in that moment. Well, first off, she was surprised that she won the challenge. And said, well, shit, I'm going to the finale in a very anticlimactic way. And then she's going, I have to either take Aras, the golden hippie boy who's been like under the radar ruling Casaya the whole time, or challenge Beast Terry. And I think she knew that she was probably not going to win the game with whoever she took. And so it was just a matter of like, maybe I could get a couple more votes over Aras. And
he has the less exciting game.
Yeah, and he's maybe a little bit more of a could potentially be jerkish, and I could probably catch him off guard at Final Tribal Council if he's kind of mean to people.
Exactly.
I think Danielle ends up in a situation where it's like I'm choosing the winner basically, but I think if she was a little bit older, I think Danielle plays a much more like streamlined game. I think she played under the radar really well because I don't think people actually like saw her as an actual threat until like later on in the game. I really liked Danielle in the sense of like how she maneuvered the social connection she had. She had Aras and Cirie, she had Courtney on the side. So I think Danielle was set up socially really well, much like Cirie was. I don't think Danielle had any clout next to Aras or Terry. I think that's the dilemma.
Or
she wins against Courtney.
Yeah, she wins against Courtney. Yeah, she just took people to the end she could not beat. So
Mike, do you think Danielle's gameplay actually improved with Heroes versus Villains when she came back? Do you think that version that you're talking about now came full-fledged in 20, or do you think it was more nuanced?
I do. I think that Danielle kind of gets I think the dilemma with Danielle in Heroes versus Villains is that she's around all these epic players, and I don't think Danielle necessarily gets the airtime as much as I would like her to get airtime.
Yeah.
Based on what I saw in Heroes versus Villains, I do agree. I think that just she came in with a little bit more experience and a little bit more like wanting the win.
Yeah.
I think that's, right from the beginning, she loses the first challenge in Panama. Like, she didn't have the bite. She didn't have she comes in with the personality that she would have a bite, but she really doesn't have much of a bite in Panama.
That's that common thing that you're talking about, Mike, with the bite with certain players. The first time you see him, like with Stephanie, right, with Palau, she didn't have like that bite. Yeah, until she came back for Guatemala, where she had more of like an aggression to play and win the game. Same thing with Danielle here is when she comes back for Heroes versus Villains, like she's a little bit more like, you can tell with certain players, like their second go around with Cirie, with like, they definitely take more of this hyper aggression mode to like win the game. And I'm not a newcomer. This isn't my first time anymore. I'm going full in, and I'm not going to blink if I have to vote someone out kind of mentality going for.
Yep, I agree.
Yep, I agree too. All right, let's rank Terry as a fallen angel. So,
oh, buddy.
Yeah, where they stand right now. We have Sesternino at number 1, Kathy 2, Rudy 3, Lex 4, Ian Rosenberger at 5, Johnny Fairplay 6, Rafe at 7, Jenna Lewis at 8, Chef Keith Famey at 9, and Scout at number 10. Where would you guys have Terry?
If he's not in the top 3, I'm gonna be surprised. Oh, I have him. Yeah, so I have him 7 on my list out of everyone.
Overall.
Wow. Overall, all the seasons.
I think that's high.
I like Terry a lot. I mean, because my reasoning was like how it's rare to see someone like win that many challenges and have an idol and like win the game kind of thing. And he would definitely have one. And he was the last standing Mina. He was the whole lone wolf, the host. He had a really good narrative going into like, I'm going against the odds. They made me take out my astronaut Dan kind of thing. It's like he had like the narrative. I can understand why people are like socially he's maybe like not the best in the world. So he has to rely on just being a complete dominant challenge beast with the little trinkets in his pockets to make it through the game. And I kind of like players like that because
that's very fair.
And it's just, and I kind of had him high. And at that time, 12th season I've ever seen.
Right.
Chronological order. I was like, this guy is like in like I haven't seen a player like this since like Colby kind of thing. That's why I think I liked Terry a lot. Was he kind of was cut from the same cloth almost in a way. So that was my ranking with Terry.
And me sitting here not a Colby fan. Love
it's
Colby,
fine,
but
Mike.
Not really.
Sometimes that's what makes that's what makes this interesting.
Yeah.
I would have probably placed him if I remember correctly somewhere between Lex and Ian. I think that Lex is kind of like that social like strategist that I really enjoy, and I think that those are the fallen angels that are the most like, oh, like you were right there, you had it, and they caught you at the last second.
Yeah.
But I also want to make a point of like seeing this list right now and the complete drop off between Jenna and Keith Famey. Like Jenna was a strategist within her season. Keith was not. Scout was not. So like the fact that our top 8 are super strong strategists, and then there's Keith and Scout at the bottom, like it's such a drop off.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna put Terry right in the middle. I would say like right under Lex.
I did like Lex too, Mike. I was like, I either wanted him or Ethan to win Africa.
Yeah.
So I was like, either or, and I'll be happy.
Yeah. Well, for me, I had Terry Dietz at 23rd out of 48. I like Terry a lot. I think he's really good in the challenges. I will give him that. I feel like strategically and socially, he kind of fell down the list. And like that's that I have to rank him lower for that. But again, I feel like he's more of like that middle of the road player because he's so dominant in one aspect of the game, which is the challenges. But I can't give him super, super high because of that. But I do like Terry. Obviously, we enjoyed having him on the show. I still think he's a fun player to track in his season and could have been fun in second chances had he been able to last more. But
even though Kelly was plotting his demise. I remember that edit. She's like, as soon as I get a chance to throw Terry under the bus, I'm going to do it. And I was like, oh, man.
Yeah, definitely a question if that would have happened if they lost. But I didn't see that tribe losing. But But anyway, so interestingly enough, Mike, Terry ended up right where you said he would. He is under Lex and above Ian, so he's number 5.
Love it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I can see everyone's modern day Survivor brain working.
I'm surprised Ian is as high as he is.
I like Ian too. I like Ian a lot. Yeah.
I do too. I like Ian as well. I had Ian decently high as well, but yeah, I mean, I think these rankings honestly make sense the way
they do.
But I mean, I might have fair play a little higher, but that's about it. All right, let's get to final tribal council. So interesting stuff. You have Courtney saying she wants to put her guns in the sea of forgiveness, and she's a bird, so she's got to fly. Followed by the Cirie giggle. So because Courtney's just interesting.
Yeah.
Courtney. And then Shane does the whole numbers thing, criticizes both Aras and Danielle, Aras is a freeloader off his dad, and all this other stuff. And then another funny thing, I just when they're going to vote and Courtney gets down and then votes and then comes back and Shane does like the whole move out of the way so you don't touch me.
Loved every moment. Well, when she gets down, she puts her arms on, it's Shane and somebody else sitting next to Shane, and she uses them as a crutch, and she just like shoves herself off her seat using their shoulders. So when she comes back and he's like, nope, not this time. Like, I loved it, every moment of it.
It was so good.
In his final speech, I thought was like, it was just like, I'd never seen like a juror give a speech like that at a finale. At that point in my run through of the game, I remember the line that stuck with me the most was like, you can't judge people off their intentions, only their actions, kind of thing. And I was like, that stuck with me to this day. So Shane kind of dropping weird stuff like that, and I wonder if he got a cigarette.
Why is he so sensitive?
Why is he so sensitive?
That's what I kept thinking. I was like, Shane, just stop taking this so seriously. What the hell?
But then the reunion, he was like, I'm so sorry, Danielle's family, that I said those. Yeah, I was like, okay, like,
that was funny.
He's rude.
Yeah,
also the 1 in 1 million.
Yes,
he makes them pick the numbers, and they pick 4 and 10. They had $1 million to choose from, and they picked like 2 basic numbers.
Yeah, that was funny. Also, I feel like the numbers actually determine Shane's vote. I think the only other time that's happened so far is Kelly Goldsmith. I think her vote was determined by that. But like Kelly Wigglesworth in Cambodia, yes, I think she was already voting Jeremy. I think Greg Buis was already voting for Hatch. So like those didn't matter, but I do think this mattered. I don't think Shane was just voting for Danielle. I think the number made him pick Danielle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So found that interesting. And then Bruce, I think I heard somewhere that Bruce's daughter's named Danielle, and so that's why he voted for her. So connected to her. So from what
Bruce was so unsatisfied with their answers. Like there was just this moment where he just like was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like if that's all you're gonna give me, all right, fine. I'm gonna go back to my seat.
I think Bruce's I learned Bruce's daughter's name because the videos. I think that's what I'm realizing, because I think they say his daughter Danielle. So like that, it makes sense now to me. All right. So Aras ends up winning 5-2. So the Golden Boy does win here. Let's rank Danielle and Aras. So we kind of talked about both their games already, but the losing finalists, as we have them, the top 10, it is Boston Robin All-Stars at number 1, Colby 2, Kelly Wigglesworth 3, Stephanie LaGrossa 4, Nalia 5, Kim Johnson 6, Twyla 7, Lil 8, Matthew Von Ertfeld at 9, and Katie Gallagher at 10. So where do you guys have Danielle?
Interesting.
I'll start first. I would place her between Kim and Twyla. So I think Danny kind of fits right in between there. I think Kim is far more well liked, and I think Twyla was a bit more rough around the edges. But everyone below Twyla, I feel like, is kind of like just the person that was taken to the end. Whereas I think that Danielle actually had a little bit of reasoning for why she ended up in the end. So I would place her between 6 and 7 there, Kim and Twyla.
It's very fair. Jonathan?
Yeah, I'll say like the same thing. She did enough to where like she actually had some level of like she had like her hand on the pulse of the game the whole time, and she was, socially attached to the right people throughout the game. And I will give her credit winning final immunity, because sometimes it doesn't matter like how many you win. It just matters if you win the right one at the right time. Right. But it was just like the odds of her like, okay, well now you're stuck with either Aras or Terry to take to the end. And she probably knew it wasn't looking good for her to win the game. So she was practically taking a winner. But I think she was trying. And so I kind of do agree with her like that, her falling in that category with the other finalists as well.
Yeah, so I had her 41st out of 81 losing finalists. I think like she had some moves, she had the Bobby move. She was the one being approached to like try to flip to Lamina, which she wasn't going to do. But she put herself in an unwinnable situation, drawing dead by the final four. So I couldn't put her higher for me, but she's better than half the board of losing finalists. So she ended up at number 9. Actually, she just beat out Matthew and is underneath Lil, which is I think she's a little low.
Wow.
So,
no, what I'll say is like, and I don't know if this is the same as other people in this poll that we did. Like I am just rewatching a lot of these seasons after 10, maybe 15 years of watching them.
Right.
And so even if it was a rewatch, right? Like I have not watched some of these seasons in a very long time.
Right.
So when I'm ranking them then, I'm thinking about them now and I'm like, ooh, Danielle did play a much better game than I probably would have noted without the rewatch. So give that for what it's worth.
Right. And I think that's very valid. I think she's a little low on the list. I do think obviously she's better than Matthew. I think she's better than Lil, but apparently people really, really are a little higher on Lil. So whatever.
Lil was fun.
She was a fun character. I don't think she was a good player.
She came in and she got what's his name out.
Fair play.
Oh my gosh. No.
Savage.
Savage. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, she was like all about taking him down, and I loved it.
Yeah, that was a funny moment. So, and again, she took out Fair Play, which is in retrospect to the story of the season, it's funny. But all right, the winner rankings. So as they stand right now, our top 10, it is Richard Hatch at number 1, Sandra Pearl Islands at number 2, Tom Westman 3, Chris Doherty 4, even though Kevin hates that. Tina Wesson 5, Vesepia 6, Ethan 7, Brian Heidick, Mr. Freeze at 8, Danny Boatwright at 9, and Jenna Maraska at 10. So that is where they stand right now. Where do you guys have Aras?
Well, I think he's definitely better than Jenna in that sense, or he's a little bit. Aras is kind of like, I don't know. He's kind of like an enigma for me. I had him on my actual full-on list. I had him at 26 out of like the 43 that I've seen so far. So I mean, he's like the golden boy hippie dude that like can be active and can do stuff. I mean, because he was giving Terry a run for his money, and so he could win challenges if he needed to. So I think he was just surrounding himself with people that probably weren't going to win challenges, where he would probably be the ideal person to win the challenge. But like I don't know. I think about it more. I don't know. I put him at 26 at the time. I like either him or Terry was going to win, because I was like, he's either going to go first in the game or he's going to win. And he surprised me by not being like one of the first people eliminated. So I thought he was going to be like the new Blake of this season, but that didn't happen. And he actually had some forethought to be like, oh, I'm going to pretend to be like this hippie kind of chill surfer dude that doesn't really take himself too seriously, but ends up actually like constricting the tribe to, do whatever it is he wants to do behind the scenes and let Shane go on his rants up in the front kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. Mike?
I think I just kept losing faith in him as a person as the season went on. And he just was not a fun person to watch, like, get to the end.
Yeah,
so for me, it's kind of low. I think I placed him even below Danny. I think above Jenna, below Danny.
Yeah, like kind of in that maybe like because Danny was kind of like likable,
Mhm.
you know, and I think maybe Aras like has some qualities about him, and he almost didn't make it to the finale because he got hurt.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, we forgot to mention
So
that.
there's so much
Does
shit.
Danielle automatically win?
Yeah, that's
it was
another
like-
what if. Yeah, we need to mention that Aras had to get stitches in his hand because they were walking out with the wine and just he fell.
What happens if he gets Medevac in the finale?
Yeah.
My
Love you,
God.
Aras. Come on.
Yeah. It's crazy to me that like they almost lost like one of the final two like on the last day.
I'm sure Jeff was like already upset that Terry went home, and then like Aras was it's clearly gonna be Aras, and Aras gets like taken. I was like, oh my God, like no, like so next season we're doing a final three. I don't care what we're doing, like that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, we'll get there when we get to the evolution of the game, because I do think that is something that will be an answer there. But I have Aras at 30th out of 48, so right around you, Jonathan. Like I feel like Aras is only a bit underrated. Like I don't think he's one of the worst winners. I just think people think he's boring, so like they don't put him super high. But like he had like under the radar control of Casaya. He was able to get people to keep him so they could try to beat Terry. Like, and
I think it's because he was viewed as huge. Like you're the young stud.
Yeah,
here we need the young guy here to beat Terry.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. And like he wanted to beat Terry too, so it wasn't like he was just like chilling out kind of thing. It was just more.
But
of
if Terry doesn't keep winning and Terry doesn't have an idol, I think Aras becomes a pretty quick target. I don't know if Aras lasts without Terry.
Yeah, it's like the Aras and Terry relationship. It's forever entwined. You know,
I do agree. I do think Aras, if Terry doesn't keep winning, Aras is like an early merge boot. So, so I will say that. So I feel like maybe it's him being boring. Maybe it is like that argument for he wouldn't be there without Terry. But Aras did not make the top 10. He is at number 11. He is just above Amber. So
Amber.
No.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, poor Aras did not make the top 10.
I was like, where are you getting these numbers from?
Just the opinion polls that everybody did, and I get to see the shock on how people rank these.
Mike was shocked.
Yeah, very shocked.
I thought I had a false take. Like I thought maybe he would rank a little bit higher, but
me too.
I guess people are kind of around that ballpark and lower apparently. So
well, and when you're comparing Aras also to the people that played the season, you've got Shane, you've got Sari, you've got Terry, who all made it to the final 5 and who like I think would have been higher ranked had they been one of the winners.
Absolutely. And I mean it is interesting to like think about. And so I don't know, like I give Aras a little bit more credit, but not like enough to like for him to be super high on my list. So I don't know. All right, we'll get to our season rankings, and then we have our favorites and the evolution of the game. So seasons where they stand right now, our top 10 is Pearl Islands at number 1, Borneo 2, Australian Outback 3, Marquesas 4, Amazon 5, Africa 6, Vanuatu 7, All Stars 8, Palau 9, and Guatemala 10, and Thailand is out of the top 10. So where would you guys have Panama Exile Island?
Well, this is definitely going to be above All Stars. It was just so now that we're like not talking about like the winner, we're just talking about the season in general. It was a really good season. It was a really good season. I liked it a lot. We're now in this era where I felt like really confident in like continuing to watch Survivor because I was like going through a slog through like the All-Star era and then getting to like Palau and being like, okay, I feel encouraged now to keep going. Getting to Guatemala, I feel really encouraged to keep going. Getting to here, I feel like really good about like going further. Like at this point, this was like my favorite season at that time, and before all the others happened. So it was definitely, I think, high on my list. I have to find it real quickly. But Mike, where is it on your list?
I'm placing it, I think, number 2 or 3. So on my full list, I would say it's definitely in my top 10.
Yeah.
On the list that we've got at the current stage of where we're at, I'm going to say it's better than Borneo. I think that Borneo set the stage. I think that Borneo is a really strong, top 10 for me. But I think Exile Island, it really starts changing the narrative of like who can win the game, and it's changing the narrative of like how the game is played. And so for me, I think it's on the list that's currently in process of being created. I think it's number 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have it 15th overall. So I really like the season. Again, the Golden Age of Survivor, again, these 16-person seasons that are in this group, Panama, China, and Token Teens are 3 really good seasons in my opinion. And like I just find it fascinating. Casaya is really fun. Yes, Lamina's boring, but because like you're not tracking their story, you're tracking the story of Casaya the whole time. And I love that. And Terry, but
Casaya plus Terry.
Yes, Casaya plus Terry. But otherwise, like, it's just fun to watch the Casayas bicker with each other. I love Shane Powers. I just think I love Cirie, obviously. So I mean, like, it's a fun, entertaining season when you're focusing on the right people. But so and there's some fun moves that contribute to the evolution of the game. So Panama ended up, I feel like people were lower on this season for some reason, but it is the new number 8. It is above All Stars and Palau in the top 10. So, below Vanuatu. So, I don't know. I don't know why people are a little lower on this season. I don't know if it's just over time gets forgotten slightly or just remembered for Cirie, Terry, Shane. Like
that must be one of like it just falls in like one of those like it's forgettable kind of things, but like so much stuff happens. I mean, granted, if you compare the season to like every other season that happens like afterwards, then it's easy to forget about it. But like at the time, I was like, this is the bee's knees of Survivor Golden Age, right? Like this is the shit. Like, and it just keeps getting better. So I was like, again, if you put it in the context of like 2005 brain when this or 2006 brain when this comes out, this is like amazing. And I was like, I think it should be higher, but I think it's just probably because there's just so many other seasons that happen that this would probably be viewed as like lower on the tier level of like this golden period of Survivor.
I think there's a couple of reasons why people might not rank it higher. I think you've got the idea of it being separated by gender and age. I think people remember that. Like that's a big part of the season. And people were very kind of, biased toward it. They, I don't think a lot of people liked that theme of the season. You've got, again, Lamina is completely forgettable. Except for, of course, Dan Fuego. And then you've got like the big names that come out of it, but like it's not a very like super memorable season in and of itself. I think that there was just a lot that kind of happened within the scope of the season that people were just not fans of. And I mean, you've got Shane's psychosis through the entire season, and so like there's probably a lot of dichotomous things that happened in this season that might have turned people like away from this season as a favorite.
Yeah, I definitely see that point. So I don't know. Again, we'll have to ask people, comment why you think Panama is great, or why.
Why you don't think it's great?
Yeah, apparently. All right. So now let's get to our favorite players of the season. Coach Drew is not around to give his favorites, so it'll just be us 3 giving them. So for me, favorite male and female. Favorite male, Shane Powers. I mean, just fantastic character. Love every single moment he's doing something crazy. It was really between him and Terry, but I went with Shane. And then favorite female has to be Cirie. I mean, Cirie just does her legend is born, and we get to kind of track her legacy now in Survivor history all the time she comes back. I mean, obviously outside of Survivor too. I mean, eventually she is finally going to win something with the Traitors. So, I'm excited to track Cirie's Survivor legacy. So, who are your guys' favorite male and female players of the season?
I'll definitely go. I'll say, so Cirie, obvious answer. We all know why. Cirie, she's awesome. She's the OG couch potato. Like, this is like her, but like she's gonna grow and blossom into this ultimate Survivor player that we all know and love. And it was just very awesome to see her in this first stage of her Survivor career, especially when I didn't know anything about her too. And she was like, oh, she's actually knows what she's doing. And I was like, I don't know if she's going to come back or not. And then she did. And I was just surprised to see her come back every single time. For guys, I'll say Terry. I really liked Terry at the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, whenever I see a challenge beast do well, and granted his social game wasn't exactly the best, but even when he tried to be social and he was just completely shut out, it was just like, well, I'm gonna have to win every single challenge or I'm gonna go home. And sometimes if you're a player, that's your only option, is to literally win to stay in the game. And it was really cool to see a player pull that off for as long as he did, and have the idol like be like the second person in Survivor history to find the idol and just have it be this super item that he just carried throughout the whole game while winning challenges. I thought was really, really cool to see him do.
Yeah. Mike?
Yeah, I'm gonna so Cirie. I mean, like, I can't not pick Cirie. And I think we've exhausted that. So I'm gonna just say Cirie is my favorite female. I will say a shout out to Misty, who is our pre-Parvati, and Ruth Marie, who I think was like our post Tina Wesson. Like, I think she could have gone really far had that dynamic on Mina not been happening. Where it's the women are the weak ones. Not true, but it is what it is. Yeah. So shout outs to those two women. For men, I'm actually gonna, I love a daddy, so Terry, great, but I'm going with Bobby. I think Bobby had such a delayed end, like a quick end. Cirie just chopped his head off, but I really think that Bobby had the potential to really get far. And yes, he wasn't like as big of a character as some of the other ones, but I think Bobby had some really good potential to give us some really fun moments. I mean, he dropped a deuce. We've got all that stuff, right? So like for me, I think that Bobby was kind of a too early boot. I think that had he made it to the merge, I think he would have been a really great character.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he gets voted out by 3 votes.
And he's on the cover. He's on the cover as a pre-merge. Like, like who else has done that?
Yeah, there's been a couple, but yeah, he's definitely up there as an iconic pre-merger for sure. And I feel like he should be remembered more. I would love for him to come back for like a pre-merge season. All right, and then maybe we can get Drew's favorite male and female off recording, but later. But last question. How did Panama Exile Island contribute to the evolution of Survivor as we know it today?
There was just a lot of stuff that happened this season. It was just like Exile Island, first time it ever happened. That was a big deal. An idol, like a hidden immunity idol, being kind of in full force in a game, being used by a challenge beast the whole time, was like, it just was very bombastic. Like everything this season had elements to it that really stood out for it. I mean, we have the birth of like certain great Survivor players like Terry and Cirie and the iconic Shane, and just like, it was very colorful with personalities that ranged all over the place. So I think Panama was just an excellent stepping stone going forward into this golden age of Survivor.
Absolutely. Mike?
Yeah, I mean, it births the queen who never won. So, it just gives us Cirie in all her form, and I love it. Exile Island, I think, was really successful in this season, which is probably why it comes back so often in this kind of golden age of Survivor. And then, of course, it turns into the Sugar Shack at some point, but that's later. Then we've got the Idol. I think that the fact that the Idol was, in its sense, kind of a failure, I think it birthed the true form of what the hidden immunity idol is to this day, and what we know and love about it is because of this failure, is because of Terry being as amazing at these challenges as he is. But I think that that's what really evolved that hidden immunity idol, and then more advantages as more advantages come out. We get more of those kinds of things. The last thing I'll say about this season is I think it really just showed that different people can win this game, and Aras winning the game, I think, given his start in the season, I really do think that Aras was not playing from the top early on. And so I think it really does show you, you got Cirie and Danielle and Aras, who are kind of like the misfits of their own tribe initially. And then you've got Terry, who was the leader of his tribe. And yet, like, those are our final four. And it really just showed anybody can get there and anybody can win this game.
Wasn't it like at the final four, they had one person from each of the original four tribes? Well, so I was like, okay, so.
It is fascinating. I don't think that doesn't happen very often.
Survivor, it's like the Survivor gods speak, and they're like, "This is."
I think it did happen at in one of the more recent seasons. I think we had one from each of the three tribes that made it to the end, didn't we?
Am I making that up? No, you're correct.
There was one season where I think that did happen.
Yeah, with three tribes, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty confident there is one, but I don't know. Off the top of my head. I can't,
because it's either 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, or 46.
Right, they blend together. So, all right, for me, the idol, I mean, it continues to evolve. Now it's a super idol. As you guys have said, I think as we go the next 2 seasons, it's going to continue to evolve into what we know it today. But they were trying out different rules for it still, and seeing what stuck. And then I'm going to mention, as I brought up earlier that I was going to mention here, I do think it leads to the final 3 being birthed, because Terry losing, I think, is what made Jeff want, hey, the best player keeps getting knocked out right before the end. We need to do something to maybe make it so that they make it to the end potentially if they can.
Yeah.
And so they gave the final 3. So
Aras almost getting hurt too is just okay. Now we really do need to have a final 3 just in case someone
that
too.
That too. Yeah, I mean,
wait for him to flip it around during 16 and screw Cirie over.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah,
of course.
Yep, Cirie's always
back to Cirie.
Yeah. So, but and then just and the fact that a dysfunctional tribe can somehow be very functional. I mean, that's kind of what I think it contributes to the history of Survivor, and of course the birth of one of the greatest reality TV players of all time. So all right, well, we're done with Panama, and now we're on to the Cook Islands next week. So Jonathan will be joining me, our favorite pre-merger Cameron, and of course the silly pirate Sarah, to talk about Yule, to talk about Ozzy, to talk about Jonathan Penner, Parvati, Candace as well. She's there too.
Yes. Oh, I love Candace.
So, I mean, there's a lot to talk about there.
And Billy?
Yeah, Billy Garcia. We just
Cowboy.
The love affair that never happened.
Yes. Well, so just as a tease, we have talked to Billy Garcia as well. So that interview will drop next week with Billy. And he has some really fun stuff to say about what could have happened had he made it to the swap. So, and not gotten booted, and if they didn't throw the challenge. So
Survivor Love Island.
Yes, we will get to hear from Billy next week. But Cowboy, Plan Voodoo, the split the votes happens. Yeah, Nate, I also think is an underrated character. So we'll get to talk about all that and the first final 3, and a controversial twist at the time of the players being split into tribes by race. So which lost CBS a lot of sponsors. So but we'll talk about it, and so we'll see you all next time for more Survivor 1 through 50 on the Tribe of Nerds.